forward, sir, up here near the clerk, and we'll get you sworn in.
You do solemnly swear that testimony you shall give in the case now before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you.
Come on up and have a seat. Thank you for being here. If you can keep that mic in front of you at all times.
You bet, Your Honor.
Really help us out. Ms. Hunt.
If you could state your name and spell your last for the record.
Justin Seitzinger, S-E-I-T-Z-I-N-G-E-R.
Where are you currently employed?
I work for the Utah County Attorney's Office Bureau of Investigations.
What's your title? What's your current title at that office?
Special Agent.
How long has that been your title?
Recent, maybe a couple months.
What was your title before that?
Sergeant.
Do you have a particular role inside of that office?
I do. I conduct the forensic examinations of digital evidence.
And how long has that been your role in that office?
In that office, I guess, just over 8 years.
Did you have that role at another, in another agency or job before that?
Yes.
Where?
The City of Orem.
How long was that?
I was 3 years approximately, maybe 4 years.
Anything before that as a...
Not as a digital examiner. I was a regular police officer before that and a detective.
Okay, I want to go through your training and experience. We'll start with just your police officer training. Briefly describe that for us.
So I attended the academy like every officer does to become a certified officer in the state of Utah. I've went through all the necessary trainings I needed to do my job well and effectively. I've been through myriads of trainings from homicide school to forensic courses, multiple forensic courses, multiple certification courses to become certified in the tools and skills that I have.
How long were you, before we get into the forensic aspects of your job, how long were you just a police officer?
I was a patrolman. I've been a police officer for almost 20 years now. I began as a patrolman. Then I worked my way up to become an investigator. And then I went back from investigations to patrol as a corporal. And then I went from corporal to the Utah County Attorney's Office as a sergeant, and then eventually special agent.
All right, I want to talk about the forensic aspect of your current job and previous jobs. When did you, I guess, would you say that that's a specialty?
Yes.
When did that become your specialty?
It began when I was at Orem.
How many years ago was that again?
About 12.
All right, and what does that encompass?
So digital forensics, what we do is we conduct forensic examinations of cell phones, laptop computers, regular desktop computers, thumb drives, drones, anything that contains storage, digital storage.
You mentioned a few trainings, I think, that went toward forensics. How do you keep apprised of updates in technology and how to go about analyzing forensics appropriately?
We continually study. We're always going to school and classes. I've never stopped studying since I became a forensic examiner. We go to certification courses for the specific tools that we use. They're very thorough trainings. I'm a Cellbrite certified operator, a Cellbrite certified physical analyst. I've been through their CERT repair, which is repair of cell phones and digital evidence so that we can extract data if something's been damaged or placed in water or tried to be destroyed. I'm also a certified in chip-off forensics, which allows you to remove the physical memory chip from the phone and extract it directly. I've been through the mobile examiner course through Homeland Security. I've been through their program. I've been through the Secret Services mobile forensics device examiner. I just completed that last year. I've been through the FBI Cyber Academy, which is extensive training on cyber, and many other trainings, about 58 or so total.
Do you keep updated on any requirements needed to keep your certifications current?
Every 2 years we have to retest on our certifications and prove that we still have the skills and ability to be an examiner.
You mentioned the word Cellbrite earlier, and I'm going to get back to that in a second, but first I want to talk about your role. You said you work at the Utah County Attorney's Office Investigation Bureau. Is that accurate?
Correct.
That's the same office as prosecutors, Utah County Attorney's Office, at least, correct?
Yes.
What's the difference? I guess, is there a delineation between the two offices and their roles?
There are. The prosecutors have their own offices, and we're a small, I guess you would call us a police department. We're an investigations bureau, so we have investigators that have been seasoned in police work, and we've been selected to be able to work there. And so we do our investigations, and that could include public corruption. It could include police officers that have been involved in shootings to help assist the county attorney with the investigation on those types of things. We do anything that is asked of us by the county attorney.
Does that mean that you come to any particular conclusions that, I guess, do prosecutors ask you to come to certain conclusions about your investigations?
They ask our opinion, but generally speaking, we just present facts. We present them with the information they need to have the ability to make decisions, and sometimes they'll ask us our opinions.
Are you aware if prosecutors in that office even have direct access to your part of the facility?
Most do not. Kind of our own locked down police department, if you will.
If evidence that you're seeing as part of your investigation, if a prosecutor doesn't, I guess, agree with it, or it doesn't seem to favor the prosecutor's case, do you change your opinion to match the prosecutors, or do you follow the evidence?
I follow the evidence.
All right, I want to get back to what you mentioned, Cellbrite. I believe you said that you were certified in that. Is that correct?
Yes.
What is Cellbrite?
Cellbrite is a forensic tool that can be either installed on a desktop computer, it can be installed, and it also has its own self-contained hardware system that you can take into the field and do examinations in the field if you need to. What it does is it forensically extracts the data from a cell phone, tablet, or a drone, or anything that's mobile. And then it also has another software that decodes that information when it's obtained from the cell phone in raw data. It will decode that information so it's readable for us to be able to look at.
Is Cellbrite your preferred tool?
For mobile devices, yes it is.
Are there other such programs that do similar things?
Yes, I also like Meggan. It's also a great tool.
So you use others, not just Cellbrite?
Correct.
Are you certified in others?
I am.
Is Cellbrite a common tool used by law enforcement in investigations?
It's worldwide used by law enforcement professionals, also the private sector.
In your training experience with Cellbrite, is it reliable?
It is reliable.
If you're able to say, and you can give me a ballpark, approximately how many phones have you extracted in your career?
A lot. I honestly don't want to give you a specific number because I have never kept count of them. I did a lot of phones in my career.
Thousands?
Likely.
What is a forensic extraction?
It is to preserve the evidence in the most sound manner that it can be and extract that data so there's minimal, if any, alteration to the data. Cell phones are a little tricky because of their security systems. There has to be some manual input given to the operating system. It does not affect user data, but it will affect changes to the operating system. And I liken that change like, say you have a snowstorm. You have a homicide that occurs, and there's snow all the way up to it, to where the knife is located of let's say, the homicide. You have to walk in there, so you leave your footprints on the way, so you add some evidence of your own to that scene. But you have to do it because it's necessary to recover the knife and the evidence that was used in the homicide. And so I look at it, put it in context with that. It is necessary because of the great security that phones have for us to make some alterations to the operating system to be able to communicate with the phone and to be able to obtain the information.
So I guess what alterations, are you able to discern what alterations you yourself make, as user an example, the footprint leading up to the weapon that you're collecting in this hypothetical? Are you able to see if this is the footprints of a forensic examiner, or this is something that was done on the phone beforehand?
Yes.
How is a forensic extraction different from just scrolling through somebody's phone?
Scrolling through a phone manually can make changes to the phone, and that's not something we want to do. We want to preserve it in the most pristine condition that it's in. We don't want to alter user data, and that would certainly alter user data.
Are there some limitations? I know that there are different types of cell phones, Apple, Android, et cetera. Are there limitations that certain phone, I don't know, what do you call it, software, hardware, presents you when you're doing a forensic extraction?
Yes, they're continually changing and they're continually challenging.
Is one phone type more challenging than another? I guess that varies.
Apple can be a little more painful sometimes.
And why is that?
They're always changing their software to lock us out, specifically lock us out of being able to do what we do.
Nevertheless, are you still able to extract information from Apple phones?
Yes.
How do you ensure that data is not altered during the extraction, other than, like your example, the observable footprints of the forensic examiner?
We make minimal adjustments. We'll place the phone in a Faraday box. That just means that it cuts off all communication to and from the cell phone, so alterations can't be inputted from an outside source. We place the cell phone in airplane mode, so it's not communicating beyond the date that we have been given the phone, so additional data isn't being added to the phone. Also so that it cannot be remotely wiped by an individual who's trying to destroy evidence. So there are things that we input, like say airplane mode. We'll often turn that on. We'll remove it from the network. We don't want it to, the potential of it to be wiped remotely.
Do you know what case we're here on today?
What's that?
Do you know what case we're here on today?
Yes.
Fair to say this case involves Casey Terry's phone to some extent,
Yes.
and Meggan Sundwall's phone.
Yes.
Do you recall when you were first, enlisted to assist on this case?
I believe it was August 15th, 2024, but it may have been a day before that. I think our chief had been starting to discuss it with us maybe the day before, but we got actively involved on August 15th.
Did you come into possession of Casey's phone?
I did.
Do you know how you obtained that phone? I guess the legal mechanism.
Yes, our lead investigator on the case and Sergeant Hales, they provided it to me along with a search warrant for the cell phone.
Did you extract that phone?
I did.
Did you follow standard forensic procedures to do that?
Yes.
Were you able to verify the integrity of the extracted data?
Yes.
Did you also extract Meggan Sundwall's phone?
Yes.
Well, first, let me go back. What type of phone did Casey Terry have, if you remember?
An iPhone 12.
Going back to Megan's phone, what kind of phone was Megan's?
I believe it was an iPhone 13 Pro Max, is my recall.
How did you obtain Megan's phone to extract?
I did Megan's phone on 2 occasions. Meggan provided consent for us to be able to do a limited search of her phone, and I believe that was 8/19 of 2024. And so I responded to her home and picked up the cell phone and brought it back to our lab, and then I extracted the data there. We were limited on our capabilities that time because iOS had just done a new update, and so we were only able to obtain a logical extraction, which is limited on scope of data.
What's a logical extraction?
And basically, it's how the phone interfaces with an API. So an application programming interface is what that is called. And so basically, it's given permission to obtain certain data, but it's only given permission, generally speaking, for native applications. So third-party applications, you wouldn't see that. You would be interacting with the applications installed by the phone's operating system, and that has granted API access.
You said that you did a second search on her phone. Do you recall when that was?
I do. It was, I believe it was 9/19 of 2024. Like, I might need to verify, no, maybe it was 9/9. I might need to verify that. Can I refresh my report?
Do you have your report in
I
front
do.
of you? If that would help refresh your recollection, just read it to yourself and then look up when you're done.
Okay, so 9/9 of 2024.
And with that second extraction, were you able to get a more full picture?
I was able to get a full file system extraction.
I'm going to show you, it'll pop up on your screen, what's been marked for identification as States Exhibit 14. Sometimes it kind of glitches a few times before it warms up. I guess I don't need to tell you much about technology. You see that?
I do.
What is this?
That is a consent to search form. Basically, it gives us written authorization from the owner of the device to be able to extract information.
And who signed that form?
Meggan Sundwall.
State moves to admit Exhibit 14.
Mr. Williams,
No objection.
will receive states 14, wish to publish.
Yes, thank you. You mentioned that she gave limited consent. What was that limited to?
All communication that occurred between her and Casey Terry.
Could that be across different apps?
Yes. Yes, it could.
And certainly text messages?
Yes.
Keeping in mind the limitations that you had there, did you perform the same forensic extraction process on her phone for that material?
Yes.
Was the integrity of that data also verified?
Yes.
This might seem obvious question, but when two people exchange a text message, are those messages stored independently on each phone?
Yes, they are.
I'm sorry, we can take that exhibit down, thank you. If one person deletes a message on their phone, does it delete it from the other person's phone with whom they're communicating?
No.
Was Megan's phone set to automatically delete messages?
It was not.
Over approximately what time period did Megan and Casey exchange text messages?
So I believe they began in 2019 up until August of 2024.
If you can recall, approximately how many messages were exchanged between the two of them during that time?
28,000 is what I recall.
Did you compare the message threads between the two phones?
I did.
When you compared them, did you find anything of note to you?
I did. I found that Meggan Sundwall's phone had 1,618 less messages than Casey's phone did.
Did you look into why that might be?
I did.
What did you discover?
They were deleted.
I'll get back to that in a second, but, you said 618 total.
Yes.
Did you, narrow a time frame that you looked at more directly?
Yes.
What time frame is that?
I believe it was in July of that year up until the current date.
Okay, and from July of 2024 up until August, I guess fair to say the last messages on Casey's phone were August 12th.
Yes.
So from July of 2024 to August 12th of 2024, how many messages were deleted from Megan's phone?
So I don't know if I want to say it was around 200 and something, but I don't know the exact number.
Okay, but in the 200s?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you select that time frame?
I was asked to.
Who asked you to do that?
Sergeant Hales did.
Were those items, those messages missing from Megan's phone random?
No, I don't believe so.
Why? What makes you say that?
Well, they're text messages that talk about suicide. They talk about insulin. They talk about assisting in that process of suicide.
Any that talk about life insurance?
Yes.
Those were some of the ones that were deleted as well?
I'd have to look at it specifically. I can't recall if those life insurance ones were deleted because I think they were more of, yes, I believe they were. But let me double check that if I could.
If that would help refresh your recollection.
It would. Appears I've only brought the submission of request for life insurance. I haven't brought the text messages with me.
Okay, so you don't know, you don't recall off the top of your head right now?
I want to say they were deleted, but I would want to be sure.
Okay, so you're not quite sure on the life insurance, but other messages related to insulin and suicide were the categories?
Correct.
Were more routine, everyday conversations still present on Meggan's phone?
They were.
So the deletion was not a complete wiping of certain conversations?
No,
Did it appear selective to you?
it did.
Absent manual deletion, is there any technological reason those messages would not be on the device?
Not that I can think of.
Is there a way to recover deleted messages on iPhones, or I guess how did you, sorry, this is a confusing question. Were you able to recover those deleted messages from Meggan's phone solely?
Not solely. They were effectively removed from the phone, or at least our access to them. So when a cell phone is deleted, it will go into a temporary storage folder. Maybe you guys, if you have iPhones, you'll understand what I'm saying. So when you delete it, you'll have a category that says recent deleted under your menu. If you delete it from there as well, it removes the primary encryption key, and our tools cannot access it once that's been done.
Excuse me, is that one of the, I guess, limitations of Apple phones?
Yes.
So to determine what messages were deleted on Meggan's, how did you do that?
Just manually. And you could see some that had been deleted, some we did recover partial of. Like on one conversation, it showed that she removed a heart on 8/17 from a message that was present on Casey's phone still. You would see just remnants of things that had been deleted.
And I'll get to that heart message in a second, but it sounds like you had to compare it at least to Casey's phone to see what was present on Casey's versus what was no longer present on Meggan's.
That's correct.
In addition to text messages, can a forensic extraction recover internet search history?
It can.
When someone types a search into their phone's browser, does that create a record?
It does.
Is that information time-stamped?
Yes.
Are you able to determine the date and time a search was performed?
Yes.
Other than search history, if somebody is just kind of, I don't know, surfing the internet, is that something that's recorded?
It does. It records the URLs that they're visiting, the sites that they're at.
Is that something that you're able to extract?
Yes.
Were you authorized by either warrant or permission to access the search or surfing history from both Casey and Meggan's phone?
Yes.
And did you do that?
Yes.
I want to start with Casey's search history, and we'll just go from August 11th and August 12th of 2024. Did you identify searches she performed those days?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as States Exhibit 17. Let me know when you see that.
I can see it.
Do you recognize this?
I do.
What is this?
That's a search history from, this one's from Casey's phone.
And if we scroll down all the way to the bottom, you see the time frames that we're looking at here?
I do.
And what are those?
8/11 to 8/12.
Is this a document that you created based on your extraction of Casey's phone?
Appears to be, yes.
State moves to admit Exhibit 17.
Mr. Williams?
Foundation. Did I quote out the names?
You may.
Special Agent Sightseer. You just got that title, right?
I did, yep. Sounds weird to me too.
I've been working with sergeants, so, nope. Let me just ask you this. Is this the entire search history of Casey Terry during the dates on Exhibit 17?
It likely is, yes.
Everything that she did in the way of a search history?
From those sources, yes. It looks like that has TikTok, Chrome, yes.
No objection.
received states 17 wish to publish.
Yes, thank you. All right, there aren't too many of these, so I'll go through them with you. Up at the top, so we see different categories. There's timestamp. Source is the next one. Kind of briefly explain what that identifies for you.
Are you starting with the first one?
Yes.
Okay. So it just says it was Lululemon lunch, and it was search history, is what it's saying.
So the source, I see TikTok is, I don't personally have TikTok. Is that something that you can manually type in a search for things you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay. And then it looks like that happened on August 11th at 10 a.m. We see UTC-6. What does that mean?
So in our time zone, that's what we would reference. So UTC would be what the world generally starts from, right? So then we are 6 hours behind that timestamp.
So is 10 a.m., is that correct for Utah time?
That'd be our time zone, yes.
If we can scroll down to number 2, what is she looking for there?
Standard lunchbox,
And what time and date is that?
August 11th, 2024 at 10:18 a.m. 04 seconds.
If you scroll down to number 3, what is she looking for there?
Voodoo Donuts,
And what's the date and time?
8/11/2024 at 12:27 and 19 seconds.
Number 4, what is she looking for there?
She searched, is it okay to give yourself a shot with just saline in it?
And the time, sorry, say the date and the time on that one.
That is 8/11/2024 at 9:48 and 13 seconds.
The next couple, number 5 and 6, and I think once we get to the other page, they'll be similar. They all happen at similar times, 9:48.
Yes, approximately.
Is that fair? Number 5, what does she search there?
Is it okay to give yourself a shot with just saline in it?
What does she search for in number 6?
Is it okay to give yourself a shot with just saline in it?
If we go down to number 7, what does she search for there?
Is it okay to give yourself a shot with saline solution?
And what's the time that she searched for that?
9:49 and 40 seconds.
Fair to say she may have been, there's maybe a typo about saline, and then she ends up correcting it to saline.
Appears to me.
Number 8 and 9 are similar. What does she search for there?
Is it okay to give yourself a shot? Is it okay to give yourself a shot with saline solution? And then number 10 is Lehigh Smith Sours.
And what time does the number 10 occur?
1:26 and 8 seconds.
Of what day?
8/12/2024.
And according to your forensic extraction, is that the last searches that she did?
Correct.
All right, I want to go to Meggan's phone. And here I want to, what we looked at just barely in exhibit, sorry, what was it, 17? I think you made this distinction before that there's a difference between typing in a search in a web browser and then just kind of surfing the internet, right?
Yes, there's a difference.
How does surfing the internet appear, I guess without getting too technical for the jury, how does surfing the internet appear differently in an extraction versus like Googling something or searching for something in a browser?
So in a search, you'll see a value entered of what you searched. In just web browsing, you're going to see URLs. You're going to see where they're going to, what sites they're visiting, what they're looking at.
All right, did you do the same, did you look at both affirmative searches and then also internet surfing for Meggan's phone?
Yes.
And I want to focus a little bit broader here on Meggan's phone. Let's look through August 11th through the 13th. I'll show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 15. Let me know when you see that.
I can see it.
Do you recognize this?
I do.
What is this?
That is web history for, I believe this is Meggan's phone.
And when you say web history, is that surfing the internet or is that searches?
It will include some searches, but primarily surfing the internet.
Is this a document you created based on your forensic extraction?
Yes.
State moves to admit Exhibit 15.
Mr. Williams,
Oh, no objection.
court receives states 15, wish to publish.
Yes. And this has many pages. I won't take you through all of them, but I'll focus on a few. Let's start at the top. So these columns are a little bit different than what we just looked at with Casey's phone. What do we see here generally?
So beginning from the left, you'll have the number, and then you'll have the title, caller, search, Google search. You'll have the URL that was navigated to. You'll have last visited time, and you'll have the source of what was used.
So, for instance, here we see Chrome.
Yes.
And in number 1, what does it look like she's searching for?
It says and caller.
Okay. I'm going to take you through, like I said, there's many pages. We won't go through all of them with you, but the jury will have the ability to look through those.
Okay.
I want to take you down to number 63. First of all, I want to start with the date and time that this was looked at. Do you see number 63?
I do.
What's the date and time that this was looked at?
August 11th, 2024 at 6:22 and 10 seconds p.m.
And what is being looked at?
Allegiant cheap flights, airline tickets, vacay.
Go down to 64. Is that similar?
Yes.
All right, we'll go down to 74. What's the date and time of 74?
August 11th, 2024 at 7:19:08 seconds p.m.
And what is she looking for there?
All jewelry from Brian Anthony's.
I'll take you down to number 78. What's the date and time that she's looking at this?
August 11th, 2024 at 9:42 p.m. 44 seconds.
And what is she looking at?
Antigua Bay, Anna Marie, Florida, or FL, annamarie.com.
All right, I'll show you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 16. Let me know when you see that.
I can see it.
Do you recognize this?
I do.
What is this?
This is searched items. This is from Meggan Sundwall's phone.
So different from surfing the internet, these are things that she would have actually typed in to search?
Typed or used a vocal search, voice search.
Okay. Is this a document that you created based on your extraction?
Yes.
State moves to admit Exhibit 16.
Mr. Williams,
No objection.
court receives state 16, wish to publish.
Yes. And we'll start again, this is multiple pages, I won't go through all of them with you, but we'll start at the, I'm sorry, oh, there we go. We'll start at the top. Similar to the one we saw in Exhibit 15, what does number 1 indicate?
If the value is and caller, the date is August 11th, 2024 at 1:52 and 29 seconds p.m. The source is Chrome.
Let's scroll down a few pages. sorry, let me stop you at number 8. What is being searched here?
Domino's,
And what's the time and date of that?
August 12th, 2024, at 1:09:51 seconds p.m.
I'll scroll you down further. I'll stop you at number 13. What was Meggan searching then?
Freestyle light, how low can it go?
And what's the date and time of that?
August 12th, 2024, at 4:23:23 seconds p.m.
Scroll down a few more. I'll stop at 13 and 14. Tell us what she's searching then.
Freestyle light, how low can it go? On August 12th, 2024, at 4:23:23 seconds p.m.
And number 14, it looks like the same, even the same exact time. Why does that show up twice? If you know.
I would want to look, let me see here. Let's see if we can see real quick. I would need to look closer at it to give you a definitive answer.
Okay. We'll scroll down to, let's look at 15 and 16. So 15 seems similar.
Yes.
Style light, how low can it go? And here the time is slightly different, 8/12/2024, 4:23, and 39. We'll go down to 16. Or sorry, this is 15 paren 1. What does that mean?
It could be a duplicate. It can recover data from 2 different locations, and it can give you a duplicate. And it's just saying, hey, this is a duplicate.
Okay. I'll scroll you down further. Keep going. And then I'll stop on 19. What's the date and time of this search of Meggan's?
August 12th, 2024, at 4:25:48 seconds p.m.
And what is she searching for?
Freestyle light, how low can it can read?
All right, and then I'll stop you there. We can take down the exhibit. The jury will be able to look through that in their deliberations. Are you aware what freestyle light is?
I am.
What is that?
It is a glucose meter that checks your blood sugar levels.
All right, before you mentioned something about a message with a heart and how you determined when, in your opinion, in your professional opinion, things were deleted. I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 40. Do you recognize this? Sorry, Chelsea, if you could scroll down.
Yes.
And what is this?
This is text communication.
Is this part of something that you extracted from
Yes, it would have been.
State moves to admit Exhibit 40?
Yeah, can I just make a connection with the subject we addressed before? No objection.
Court receives states 40, wish to publish.
Yes. So here, what do we see in the green? I guess, is this the format that the text messages come in when they're extracted from using Cellbrite?
No.
How do we get this formatting?
It mimics your phone. It gives you a conversation view like you would see on your phone. It's more pleasant to look at than the raw data and the columns or rows.
So the conversion into something that's more pleasant to look at, is that something that you do or that Cellbrite does?
Cellbrite does it, but I put the input into it, make it do it.
Okay. What do we see in the green bubble here?
A message from Casey to Meggan Sundwall.
And it says, and fairness, we don't have the full context, right? We only have 2 messages here.
Yes.
But in part, she says, like I said, if anything happens, I wrote that sign in case they change nurses and I'm out of it. So if you don't hear from me, you will hear from someone. Maybe even Masteller, he has your number and knows that you're my person to call. What's the date on that message?
The date is 4/5 of 2024 at 12:58 and 38 seconds p.m.
What's the blue message we see below that?
That one is from Meggan.
And it says, loved, and then it starts to quote the message that I just read. Is that fair?
Yes.
What does that loved mean?
So when you click on a message that somebody sent you like and you want to add an emoji to it, pretty much that.
So in this format, it won't just show the heart or the thumbs up or whatever emoji. It actually makes it look like there's, it puts it there like it's an additional message.
It would attach a heart to it, yes, so data would be logged about it.
Okay. I want to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 41. We could scroll down a bit. Let me know when you see that.
I can see it.
Do you recognize this?
I do.
What is this?
That is when it was removed on Meggan's phone. The heart was removed from that message.
All right. So this is part of the extraction that you performed.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
State moves to admit Exhibit 41.
Williams,
No objection.
received states 41, may be published.
So here we're seeing the same conversation that we just looked at in reverse, though. The first message is in blue instead of green. Does that help us determine what phone 41 is versus Exhibit 40? Does that question make sense?
Kind of, but no.
I guess, do you know what phone this is from?
Just from this view, no. I wouldn't want to answer that conclusively.
Okay, fair enough. So if we look up at the top here, we see Meggan Sundwall is listed as the owner, and then Casey Girl is a number below that. Does that help you determine
That
what
helps
phone?
me much, yes. That's,
And whose phone is this?
it's identified as Meggan's phone.
So the blue bubble we're seeing is from Casey. You see that at the top?
Yes.
And it's as fair to say, it's the same message we looked at in Exhibit 40.
Yes.
The green bubble below, what do we see here?
The heart was removed from that message.
And do you see, sorry, the original message, let's go back up to the blue bubble. What date was that on?
4/5 of 2024 at 12:58 and 38 seconds p.m.
And then if we go down to the green, it says removed a heart from I will, like I said, if anything happens. What date do we see in that bubble?
August 17th, 2024 at 2:03 and 18 seconds a.m.
What, if anything, does that date and time signify to you?
Modifications were made to messages on that date and time.
What do you mean by modifications?
A heart was removed.
Do you recall if this message in total was present on Meggan's phone?
The entire message?
Yes.
I don't believe I saw the entire message. That was on Casey's phone. I saw the entire message.
So that would signify to you that I guess anything more than a heart was deleted? Are you able to tell whether the entire message was, if this was one of the messages that was deleted?
From this view, it's hard to say that.
But fair to say the phone was manipulated, something was, the heart was at least removed on August 17th, 2024.
Yes.
I'm ready to pass the witness.
Thank you. We've been going with the jury for a couple hours now. We're going to take a morning break. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are admonished by the court that it is your duty not to converse among yourselves or to converse with any other person on any subject of the trial, and it is your duty not to form or express an opinion thereon until the case is finally submitted to you. This includes no individual research on the parties, attorneys, or claims.
All rise for the jury. Please be seated.
You can step down, sir. Counsel, as to Exhibit F, the Jorgensen video, defense is using that for illustrative purposes. The state wanted to offer that. Where are we at?
Can we have some time to contemplate that and review it for anything that was of concern audibly?
Certainly.
Because we, of course, we didn't include the audio because it could have hearsay statements in it.
I don't have any objection to admitting it without the audio.
We don't have any way to do that.
We'll come back and address that. There's got to be a way
I believe our paralegals
to
indicated
sort
that
that out.
there is.
Okay.
Okay, we'll come back and address that.
I don't know why I made any affirmative statement about the ability to do anything.
What about Exhibit G? Defense is Exhibit G, photo of the meds in the closet. Did you intend on offering that?
Yes, and, I mean, I'd offer it now if the state doesn't have an objection, but the witness ultimately said he didn't remember seeing it, so I didn't feel like I could lay the foundation, so I certainly will be able to through Detective Farney.
So we'll hold off on that then. All right. Thanks, Brooke. Okay, let's come back at 5 after, thereabouts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All rise.
Thank you. Please be seated. We're going to go back on the record on case 251-401-132, State of Utah versus Sundwall.
Can I have just one moment? I'm sorry.
You bet. We can have the witness come back up.
We thought we had a technical thing.
Mr. Seitzinger, I will remind you, you're still under oath.
Yes, sir.
All right, sorry, we're doing. I think that we should have used you to get ready for this. So, I did not. I want to talk a little bit about your job, your role, and your employment. By the way, okay, so excuse me if I go Sergeant Special Agent, but I think I'll stick with Special Agent. Isn't that because all of the employees for the Utah County Attorney's Office's titles got changed from whatever Sergeant, Lieutenant, et cetera, to Special Agents?
I'm not sure on the entire county. I just know for our office. I don't know that the other lieutenants and sergeants were changed to special agent. That doesn't sound right.
When you say our office, you mean the Utah County Attorney's Office, right?
Yes.
Because you work in-house at the Utah County Attorney's Office.
Yes, sir.
For the prosecutors here, what I mean is as support for the prosecutor's office.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure, because sometimes we hear about district attorneys and county attorneys. In this Utah County, they're called, the prosecuting entity is called the County Attorney's Office, right?
Yes.
Even though there's a civil division as well, right?
Yes.
All right, just want to make sure, I clarify that you work for the prosecuting arm, or the the county attorney's office, and we're talking about the work you've been doing with the prosecution division, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we've heard about Special Agent Richard Hales, right?
Yes.
He also works in this capacity that you work in, right?
Yes.
Well, he's in the courtroom, right? Over here with the,
Yes.
I won't describe him, the handsome guy next to Sergeant, and that's Detective Farney that's next to him, right?
Yes.
These are the people that you worked with through the investigation.
Yes.
And as you indicated, you started that as early as 2 days after, on the 15th, 2 days, or is that 3 anyway, after Casey Terry was taken from the home, let's put it that way.
Yes, that's a fair assessment.
And I'm putting it that way because she ultimately didn't pass for a couple of days, so I'm not saying the day she died.
Yes.
All right. And you were available to Special Agent Hales for anything he would want, right?
Yes.
You had talked about this sort of, I think you said lockdown, but this separate area, but that's where Hales is too, right?
Yeah, he's a few offices down from me.
And you did. He could come in and ask you, for instance, to pull certain Celebrite downloads, right?
Yes.
What's interesting about these is they're called extraction reports, right?
Yes.
An extraction report means you could go in and extract certain data from this bigger download of data, right?
You can compile it into a report, yes, in smaller forms.
Smaller forms.
Yes.
And I'm going to try not to interrupt you, I'm sorry. And so, because the point is that when you take that phone and you put it, I think, is it called a TIFF file?
It can be.
It's this big, huge file that has all the information from the phone, correct?
I'm going to say zip file. I'm going to change it a little bit. Yes. Yes, it is all the information that is available from an extraction in that file.
No way I'm going to know the difference between a TIFF file and so use whatever terminology is appropriate.
Okay.
And correct me at will.
Okay.
But the point is this all this info in the phone's available to you.
Yes, for the most part.
And it's an extraordinary amount of data these phones have these days, or let's focus on the 2024 August, but things haven't changed that much in terms of the data that's on these phones, right?
No.
For instance, I mean, you can get geolocation of where that phone has been at any given time, right?
Generally speaking, yes, if they've given permissions to it.
You can get contacts, a list of the contacts the person had in their phone, right?
Yes.
You could go right and search and find out how many times anyone communicated with that contact.
Yes, you could.
You could get, of course, any recordings that are on the phone, right?
Yes.
You have access to photographs, videos, and those things, correct?
Yes.
This wide variety of information that you have, at any time that you can keyword some searches and extract so that Hales, Special Agent Hales, could come over to you and say, hey, show me all the text messages between Casey Terry and Meggan Sundwall, right?
Yes.
Then, and these are some examples we've seen, then he could come say, hey, show me the search history for a Google Chrome browsing events of this day on Casey's phone, right?
Yes.
Same thing for Meggan's. These are these exhibits that the state has admitted, right?
Yes.
But you could go back and do searches at other times if Sergeant Hales asked you to do.
Yeah.
And if Detective Farney did, right?
Yes.
So since August 12th, 2024 till today, you were certainly available throughout this investigation to do those sorts of narrower searches through all this sorts of narrower data if you're asked, fair?
Yes.
And it's not just them, is it? It's the prosecutors.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, weren't you asked throughout this investigation at times to do things and asked by a prosecutor?
Yes.
So, let's talk about real quick, so these searches that were in there and you were asked to go through and articulate some of the search information. Let's talk about the search that Meggan did for vacations. All right?
Okay.
Have you ever asked to go further back in the data and see whether that was a regular search that might indicate she had a vacation coming up with family?
I don't recall being that specific, no. To go back further than that, I believe it was August 11th, I think was the date of that.
So but the point is they didn't, these exhibits that were put into evidence, they never went through and asked you in relation to any of the searches that Meggan did to go back and see if those searches occurred prior in time.
No,
Prior in time to the 11th. You were cut off at the 11th, right?
that's what I was asked.
So as far as we know, she had been doing searches on the 10th of August about vacations too, right?
We'd have to look.
And about jewelry.
We'd have to look.
Same goes for the exhibit that you were addressed with Casey Terry's phone in her search history, okay? That date was, do you remember what that date that exhibit starts at?
For Casey, I believe it was 8/11 through 8/12.
Okay, so we've got this essentially 2 days that they asked you to compile a search history for, right?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Okay.
I'm so used to not talking to people. I'm going
Whichever attorney's up and asking you a question has to badger you on an answer out loud. So this time I got to
Sounds
badger
good.
you.
I appreciate the reminder.
But then they went down, she had you read through some specific searches on Casey's phone, right?
Yes.
But no one ever took any of those specific entries and asked you to go see if Casey Terry had searched for that before the 11th, did they?
Correct.
I mean, they've never asked, strike that. Now, then we talked about this, the circumstances of deleting. And I just want to address that a little bit. Actually, before I do, I forgot to do this. You also do some other tasks. I mean, you're not just in that office, sitting at a desk, only doing forensic extractions of phones, right?
Yes, I am.
Really, you interviewed Lee.
Oh, yes, I did participate in that. Generally speaking, I'm in a lab. So.
And that's what I want to be clear. You're also available, for instance, in this case, you did interviews for this investigation, right?
Yes, I did.
You interviewed Lee Randall.
Yes, I did.
Detective Farney wasn't there, right?
No.
Special Agent Hales wasn't there, right?
No.
You interviewed Renee Randall, right?
Yes, I did.
Same answers. The detectives and the sergeant were there, or the special agent were there. Hales.
Hales wasn't there for that one. Special Agent Tishner was with me on both those.
Tishner, someone else.
Yes.
You don't. When they sent you out to interview, were you part of the recent interviews that were redone with Renee Randall?
I went out, and she declined to be interviewed.
And she ultimately, we know in evidence, you weren't here in fairness of this trial, did get interviewed. She came back in and sat down for an interview. You didn't know that?
I think I did hear that.
I take it you weren't part of it.
No, I wasn't part of it.
So you weren't part of this recent interview of Renee and Lee.
Yes, I was not part of it.
All right, so you can be asked to go out and do other traditionally detective-oriented or investigator-oriented tasks, right?
Yes.
So, for instance, they could have said, as to some search for a vacation, can you go back out and ask Lee and Renee whether they know about an upcoming vacation plans that might involve Meggan Sundwall, right?
Yes, we could do that.
But you never were.
No, I was never asked.
You also knew that Meggan Randall, throughout this early time especially, Meggan Sundwall, Meggan Randall Sundwall, was being spoken to by Detective Farney and Special Agent Hales, right?
Yes, early on you're talking about that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, I mean, this is back and forth in the office with Special Agent Hales and you especially, right?
Yes.
Because you're in the prosecuting office. And you're meeting with the prosecutors at that time, too?
And let me just focus on Ms. Thomas.
Maybe a couple times, maybe.
I mean, Ms. Thomas was directly involved in meeting with the agents, right? Let's just ask about you, because you might not know about
I think she was primarily talking to Detective Farney, but I was present with her.
There were times when you were looped in, but things were being asked of Ms. Thomas, prosecutor, and in this case, in this trial, about ideas about what to do and where to go with your investigative abilities, right?
I believe so.
And if she had asked you to do things, you'd have gone and done it, right?
Yeah.
So as you've talked about, the way you first learned that there were deleted messages, right?
Yes.
And the way you knew was on the 19th it was, first of all, you had Casey's phone, right?
I believe I got her phone on the 19th or 20th.
Okay.
Casey's phone, I think. I'd have to look at my report to be specific.
And I don't know if the dates matter that much, but
Okay.
you got, and I'll see, and if so, you can look at a report. Because we, I think, got from one of the exhibits, the consent to search that was signed by Meggan, that's Exhibit 14, right?
Yes.
So Meggan consented for you to take her phone and look at it, right?
Yes, for specific things.
And for communication between she and Casey, right?
Yes, correct.
So when she signs the thing, presumably she knows that you're taking it to compare it to Casey Terry's text messages on her phone, right?
You could assume that.
Okay. I mean, and it doesn't take a genius to know that when you scroll through them side by side, you're going to see differences at that point, right?
Potentially.
So Megan's giving you a phone that it doesn't take a genius to know is going to show different and deleted text, right?
Potentially.
I just wanted to get to it because then you ultimately said you took her phone again. I think it was the 20, you remember when it was?
Let's say
29th.
9/9 of, so September 9th.
Oh.
I think it believes it's the second time I did it.
Okay. And that's when you did the full download, right?
Yes, correct.
Now, you knew it, by 9/9, you knew that police had talked to Meggan Sundwall 3 different times, right?
I don't recall the number, but I knew that they had spoken with her.
And had addressed the deleting of texts.
Yes, I believe I do recall a conversation about it.
And she admitted it, right?
I don't know, I wasn't there for that.
Have you ever been shown any of those interviews?
I don't believe I have.
To be
I was
thorough about
working a
shown.
couple other homicides, so I'm pretty busy. I don't have a ton of time to spend on their portion.
I get you. I'm pretty busy too. You think this is a pretty important case, though, don't you?
I do.
All right, so I'm going to try to still ask you questions, even though if your answer is you were busy and you don't remember, then feel free to give it. But back to that question, you're not sure, and I had said whether you had seen interviews with Meggan Sundwall, and I want to be fair. Are you aware that only one interview was recorded on body camera?
I believe I was aware that it was recorded on body camera.
I'm wrong about that. One interview was that when Meggan came down to ask questions of the police officers at the county attorney's office, right? Do you remember that?
I'm going to object, Your Honor. He's already stated that he wasn't present for this and doesn't remember being shown it, hasn't reviewed it. I don't think he's the proper witness to ask these questions.
It's interesting. I think he just said he thought he remembered seeing a video recording.
Overruled, he can respond.
So I didn't see the video recording. I was told that they used a body cam to record it.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll move up that. Can I have just 1 second to check on plug that in? All right, I thought we had set this up, so I'm going to apologize to everybody while I swap computers with a person a lot smarter than I am. I'm not saying that's a very narrow field. I want to ask ask you to go through some information with me. With regard to these phones, talked about all this information that's on. Water. Excuse me, you're also not aware of how much I've been clearing my throat.
Same thing.
I'll give you a second too.
Thank you.
For the benefit of everyone, I'm going to take another try. All right. One category of information. Can you see something on your screen?
Yes.
This is going to probably help. One category of information you can get from these phones is you can see when they moved, can't you?
Yes.
There's an accelerometer feature, is that right?
Yes.
So if I pick up my phone, and I move my phone over here, it's storing that data, right?
It's likely.
When I did it, right?
Possibly.
How far I moved it, right?
Very possible.
And that's true even if I didn't even turn it on. I didn't even have a screen display come on. It's still going to record that, right?
Very possible.
So one thing that's interesting is that we get to know how far phones move. Now, it doesn't tell us who moved them, right?
Right.
The other thing you get to know, if you look for it, is there. It came on. My phone just came on, right?
Yes.
Make sure it's on before I show everybody. That's a screen display coming on, right?
Yes.
Apparently because it got in front of my face, right?
Quite possible.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I unlocked the phone. I mean, sorry. That information is display on and off when you see the data on an extraction report.
Yes. It can be found.
Then, if I actually purposefully, so I want to be careful. If my phone came on because I had a notification ping to it, then it would be display on and off, right?
I'd want to research that a little further.
Okay. If you don't know, you don't know. However, then there is information that is also lock and unlock, right?
Yes.
So that is when I actually open the phone, either by doing something manual or my face, if that's how I turn it on. And I think the only other thing with an iPhone is a thumbprint, right?
Could be.
You're aware that the phone that Casey Terry had was opened by facial recognition?
It's possible.
Now, obviously, also, I forgot PIN. You could put a PIN in, right?
Yes, you can put it in.
And that's how you would get a lock and unlock notification on the phone, right?
Yes, if it's locked or unlocked.
So we could get a lot of information about whether a phone moved and whether when it did, a person was locking and unlocking it from running through an extraction report, right?
You'd get a lot of information, yes, and stuff like that.
So did the government ever ask you to find out what Casey Terry was doing on the 12th? What Casey Terry's phone was doing on the 12th?
That question specifically, I don't recall that specific. It was more narrow than that.
All right, I'm going to show you, well, you've got it on your screen. Does this look like an extraction report?
It does.
And this like the report that would have the sort of information that I was just talking about on it?
It does.
And I've highlighted some on this. Plugged in, I didn't cover that. If a phone's plugged in to charge, then it'll even say that, right?
Yes.
So you can learn when it was plugged in and how long it was plugged in for. And I suppose you can learn how far it was charged. Not from this report, but you could, right?
It logs a lot of information, potentially, yes.
So I want to do this then with you. I'm going to seek to publish for illustrative purposes the extraction report that begins at 7 o'clock a.m. on Casey Terry's phone. on August 12th, 2024.
Yes, thank you. Publish.
Let's do some investigation. Again, I'm sorry in advance, it sounds like you were never asked to do this investigation by the government. I'm highlighting it here. I promised I'd start at 7 o'clock. Looks like it was plugged in, and you have that status, right?
Yes, appears to be.
And I've highlighted things because there's so much information, you really got to cover lots of pages to get to it, right?
Tens of thousands.
I'm going to scroll down. It's not scrolling further. Well, I'm using your page down. Can I do it here? It ends at the first page. Next page. Shoot, page. Okay. Then I can do that, go to the next page. Not my computer, sorry. So we're gonna scroll down here, and it looks like we can see the device gets unlocked and locked, right?
Yes.
Locked, locked and unlocked, locked and unlocked. That's the sort of activity that the user has to make happen.
Yes, it would take input of some type.
Again, scrolling down through here, we see lots of locked and unlocked activity indicating the user is engaging the device, right?
Appears to be.
Still going down. Going to the next page. Going to the next page. Going, all this activity is, that I've highlighted is locked and unlocked, right?
Yes, in the yellow.
Yeah, in the yellow. Reason I wanted, maybe I should really quick. All this stuff happening in those left-hand columns. Sometimes there'll be a whole string of indications that like Gmail was in action with the phone, right? But they'll all be in the same second, right?
Can be.
That's because it is just happening automatically from the Gmail site, right?
Yes, and we're very fast with our phones.
There's lots of stuff happening on our phones that we don't even apparently know about necessarily. Going down all through this day. We're still on at the 7 o'clock hour. Sorry, we had to put this in pages that I'm going through quickly. We're seeing locked and unlocked.
I think that's the same page that we're seeing.
We are?
It looks like it.
How do I go to the next page, Marissa? Thank you, Judge. All right. Thank you, Your Honor, for saving this. All right, it's back up in a way that I think I can scroll. We had this plugged in device status that we started with, at 7 a.m., right?
Yes, that's the top one.
And this is what it's still not doing it. Let's see if I can do it with this.
You can have your
There.
investigator come up and help.
It looks like if I go over here, I can click and scroll. You can scroll from there. So I'm just gonna scroll by clicking one at a time. Locked and unlocked. Now we are moving through the day, right?
Yes, appears to be the,
All right. This is what I meant to do. Or I promise there's a point. Scroll down through the day. Boom. Right here in purple is the end of the 7 o'clock hour, right?
yes.
Now the phone automatically tells you how far it traveled according to the accelerometer, right?
It does.
So according to the accelerometer, how far did this phone travel in the 7 o'clock hour?
In the 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock?
Well, this is 8, so it's reporting how far it traveled in the 7 o'clock hour, isn't it? All the time in front of it. It can't know what it's about to do. This is evidence about what from 7 o'clock a.m. to 8 a.m., how far the phone traveled, right?
I would need to see more data to answer that.
Why?
Well, because it says 8 o'clock.
But at every hour, you don't know that at every hour, the phone tells you what it did the previous hour?
With all the data, absolutely, I know. But
Okay.
with this data, I'm going to say no.
All right. So you aren't comfortable testifying that the data here in the purple tells us that the phone moved in the 7 o'clock hour?
If you could show where it's showing from 7 o'clock moving that distance, then I could substantiate that maybe, but not just based off this.
Okay. At some point, can we just agree for now that at some point, 8 o'clock, it said the phone traveled that distance?
That's what it's indicating.
Okay. Regardless of what it's relating to. So how far did it travel? If that's correct.
It gives us a distance traveled of 369.30.
369. So, roughly 1,210 feet. Right?
If that's referencing meters, potentially, but I don't see a reference on it.
Doesn't reference feet, so I had to use my handy app on my phone. Do you have any reason to disagree that it's 1,210 feet in 369 meters?
I wouldn't say either way on it.
All right. And it also says a speed down here. I didn't highlight it, but this thing also tells you the fastest it went at any given time. Whatever hour we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Do you agree as an expert with all the expertise you have in the field and such that that's about a walking speed? 0.85? 0.95?
I'm not an expert in walking speed, so I'm not going to answer that.
All right, but I'm not asking if you're an expert in walking speed. I'm going to ask you if you're an expert with all the things you told us about and what the data in a phone suggests about speed equaling about a walking speed.
0.85 would suggest it's a slow moving.
All right. So this phone moved around, locked and unlocked, and continued to travel. May do it for the next hour, 8 o'clock. We've got some unlock and activity now at 8:45, right?
Appears to be.
Some lock and unlock at 8:50. 10 to 9, right?
Yes.
So now, it looks like whoever's got the phone and has the ability to lock and unlock it is doing so. Agreed?
Yes.
All right. 9 o'clock, this phone gives information again about distance traveled, right?
Yes.
With all the same caveats you said before
Yes.
about what hour that was in, how far did it travel?
It appears to be 237.77.
So another 800 feet, right? If my,
I would want specifics, like if it was meter, if you could show me it was meters, then I would agree with you, but I just, under that measurement, it just has a square box, so I know, I'm reluctant to say exact.
so you're not aware, as an expert, as you sit here today, what that distance traveled is recorded in?
With that data, are you? No, that doesn't make,
No, I'm not an expert.
well, it's a square box, that doesn't indicate anything to me, so.
Never
I
seen
don't know
anything
an
like
expert
that.
that would see anything any other way than that.
Never ever seen anything like that then? This is the sort of investigative information that's just new to you?
No, generally it has feet, meters, and it indicates what it is.
All right. Now we're going to scroll down some more and see some unlocked and locked activity. Right, there's 944, locked and unlocked. Same thing for 952, right?
Yes.
And again through here. I think I just maybe missed another health box. There. Now we have what it says 11 o'clock. We have some more information that at 11 o'clock this information is being given again for distance traveled, right?
Yes.
So for whatever hour that's speaking to, some movement of the phone and some activity locking and unlocking it by the phone user. Agreed?
I see the distance traveled. I don't see your highlights, though.
You don't see the purple highlights?
On the distance traveled, yes.
Yeah.
You said unlocked or unlocked?
Well, we had previously walked.
Oh, okay.
I'll just.
You're talking about a previous page? Okay.
So as we were going up here, see that activity?
Yes, I see that.
All right. Fair enough. Now we're back to the 11 o'clock hour. Now I'm going to scroll down and see if you see any more locked and unlocked until it's 11 o'clock. Locked and unlocked about noon,
Yes, that's what I see.
right? Locked and unlocked about nearly 1 o'clock p.m. Agreed?
You moved too fast. If you want to go back, I'll agree with you if I see it. Yeah, 112.
There's 112. I think I had you on the 11 o'clock hour, but here's noon. I think we already covered that, right? That distance,
I believe so.
it had moved. Going down through here, there's some lock and unlock at 112. User activity, right?
Yes.
It appears to be paging multiple times. Here's a whole bunch of looking at it and seeing locked and unlocked right around the 134 hour, right?
Yes.
138, locked and unlocked.
Yes.
All right. It seems to want to page down at a speed that I'm not able to do per page. We had already talked, there's like 138, then you've got this is just not going to work. I really apologize. This was not how we planned it, obviously. locked and unlocked at 1:38.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah. At the end, can you make it go one page at a time, please, and stand there with me? Want to get to the data at the end of that hour. Oh, okay, this one we didn't get highlighted. Right, that's the point. Reason we didn't highlight it. See the 2 o'clock health measurements again?
Yes, 2 o'clock even?
It looks like that phone did not get moved in that hour, did it?
Does not appear so.
All right, so now we had a little bit more activity up till we saw 1:38, and then the phone didn't move, even though there was some locking and unlocking, right?
At 1:38 was the last I remember the unlock and lock. Is that what you're referencing?
Yeah.
Okay.
But at whatever happened in that hour with locking, unlocking, the phone didn't move.
Give me a time frame. That's too broad.
Well, we may have to present this to another expert if you don't know. But moving to the 3 o'clock hour. As we go through here, tell me if you see any locking or unlocking. You're not seeing any locking or unlocking action.
That's
right?
pretty fast, but it's not standing out to
Okay.
me.
And you would know, we just went through a lot of what it looks like, right?
Yes.
All right. 4 o'clock hour. We're on that the health metrics, right?
The application, the activity, yeah.
Right there, and we're talking like we had with the other hours, movement of the phone, right?
Yes.
Didn't move again.
Doesn't appear to.
Didn't unlock or lock either, right?
Doesn't appear to.
Okay, I'm going to stop there for the benefit of everybody instead of walking you through this. And what I might do is email this to you and you can have a chance to review and check me on anything that I've walked you through. Is that fair?
Okay.
And when all these hours end on the phone, to see whether or not it ever was used or ever moved after that 1:38 unlock, okay?
Is that the question you're asking me?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
what I'm gonna ask
okay,
you.
yeah.
To come back and tell us if it did.
Okay.
So it's fair to characterize what I just arduously went through with complete ineptitude that
Tried.
I tried, thank you,
I'll give it
Special
to you.
Agent. Up until Megan got there, up until about 10, Casey's phone is moving around and it's getting used a lot, right?
Appears to be.
Then it's just not moving. Appears to be, right?
Yes.
And then at a certain point, not even being used at all.
Yes.
You're aware that it was found by her bed on the shelf?
I believe somebody had told me that.
Thank you for bearing with me on that, I appreciate it.
Redirect?
Yeah, just very briefly. You were asked about the travel, that apparently it looks like it logs every hour, but it doesn't give you a unit of measurement.
No, I didn't have a reference measurement.
So it could be meters, potentially feet, could it maybe be inches, or maybe it doesn't even log inches?
Meters or feet would be more likely, or miles, or
So if-
maybe kilometers, depending on how they have it set.
Okay, so if a phone is moving just a few feet away, maybe it might not even be enough to log movement?
It may not be. I mean, I'd need to do a lot more research on just small movements.
As Mr. Williams was scrolling through kind of a lot of things that were happening on the phone, I saw, pages of Gmail things. Are those, if you had a chance to get a good look at those, are those like emails being received on the phone, or is that somebody affirmatively doing something on the phone?
It potentially could be. I'd need to look closer.
Okay, but a lot of the activity, fair to say, could be just notifications being received, emails being received,
Very
things
possible.
like that.
Yes.
I think Mr. Williams even said this, even if a phone is being unlocked or locked, we can't tell directly who's doing that.
No.
If someone knows somebody's PIN number, for instance, they can unlock or lock somebody's phone.
Yes.
If Casey had her phone set up through facial recognition, if it's held up to her face, it could unlock.
Yes.
If Casey had her like biometric, where your thumbprint unlocks the phone, it could be used that way.
It could.
You asked about search history that's available. If we went through all the search history on both these ladies' phones, we would probably be here all year. Is that fair to say?
We'd be here a while, for sure.
So the prosecution asked you to narrow down on certain dates.
Yes.
All right, I think that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Williams?
Just to clarify a few things.
Okay, I'm gonna send you what I used in court and invite you to come back and see if anything that was suggested was incorrect. But the point is, I just showed you one day, the day of essentially the death of, the day that Meggan spent the day with Casey Terry, just that one day, we just did it. Now, it didn't even take me 20 minutes, did it? Maybe it did, but
It might have.
but certainly you could have done it real quick.
Yeah.
Had they just asked you, let's learn a little bit about what was going on before Meggan got to the house, right?
Yes, and to clarify, I did do search terms, so it's not like we just stayed on that day. That's
All right.
what I was asked to produce.
And this kind of evidence just wasn't asked to be reviewed, and I'm kind of catching you cold on it, it sounds like. And that's, you want to double check because you want to be sure that things are correct.
I think every party here deserves that, yeah.
So if you'll come back and tell us whether that's meters or feet.
Would you be okay if I use more data to substantiate that?
You know, I'm going to leave it to the prosecution to decide if they want to clear anything up with you in that regard.
Okay.
Or we want to call witness, who knows. But let's talk about this last part, because it's true. Someone could hold the phone up to my face and then they'd be unlocking it and locking it, right?
Yes.
And then presumably they could also be moving the phone around because, let's face it, we don't know who's doing the moving, right?
Correct.
Okay, but we just watched. Are you aware that Meggan didn't get to that house until just before 10 a.m.?
I'm not sure when she got there. I didn't establish that point of fact. So I would say that's my recalls that I was told is around that time.
Well, at any rate, that movement we were talking about, I specifically went over with you. We can tell from the phone all happened, with the exception of that short 77 period of movement. That all happened before 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay? So, you're not suggesting...
If you say so. I
She
want
can
to
run over there and strike that. Nothing further.
Anything else?
No.
You can step down. It is now noon. We're going to take our lunch break right now. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are admonished by the court that it is your duty not to converse among yourselves or to converse with any other person on the subject of the trial. and it is your duty not to form or express an opinion thereon until the case is initially submitted to you. This includes no individual research on the parties, attorneys, or claims. Let's get you back here at 1 o'clock, and we'll get started soon thereafter, 1 o'clock. Thank you. Have a good
All
lunch.
rise for the jury.
Please be seated. Council, we're going to be back here at 1. We'll get going as soon as we can. Anything else we need to cover before we take a break?
Not that I can think of right now.
We good?
I think we're to Detective Farney, so we filled that outstanding issue of now we're gonna be plugging through a lot of texts that we just haven't had time for to review in terms of seeing exhibits.
Then we just got to keep moving forward one way or another.
No, I understand, I'm objecting to them using anything that wasn't used at the preliminary hearing, since we didn't get enough prior notice of these specific text message chains to investigate them.
And we've already established that you had them, albeit tens of thousands of them. You had them, you just didn't know what specific ones they were going to use. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Are you wanting a response?
Please.
Yeah, I would say that Mr. Williams has done a great job putting things into context so far. Obviously, the phone extraction data was voluminous, and he had the time to go through and find when and where the phone was moving. Since the preliminary hearing, he knew that texts were a huge pillar of the state's case and that they were heavily relied upon at the preliminary hearing. He did a wonderful job at the prelim, adding in texts he thought offered more context or shed more favorable light on his client. I have every faith that he'll be able to do the same here. We're only using texts that have been available to him for just about a year now. So there's certainly no restriction that the state has to rely on only the evidence presented at the preliminary hearing. Obviously, the court's aware of the lower burden associated with the preliminary hearing. And certainly the state always expected and I would guess Mr. Williams knew that our case would get larger at trial, and it has, but we're only using texts that have been available to Mr. Williams and whatever expert he wished to engage to go through before trial was set.
Thank you.
Just to make the record clear, I'm sorry, Judge, my basis for this objection is Rule 16 and due process.
Thank you. I'll have an oral ruling when we come back, but I'm anticipating on moving forward accordingly. The discovery's been exchanged, the parties have had access to documents, I understand. I feel it may be late in the game. We've had this trial set for some time. We've had these dates set for some time. I'll be back with a more definitive ruling for the record right after lunch. Thank you.
All rise.